Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you everything you're going to need for a basic grading pattern, especially for changing up patterns so you can make your own designs a little bit and you can make them fit you the best way. So how you probably know, I do sell some sewing patterns in my shop down below, so make sure to check them out. They're always double checked and sewed by myself, so you can just go ahead and check them out. And about sewing patterns, it's a little bit different because sewing patterns are based on my size and then they just grade it up, and that's how the most sewing pattern maker work. And also in the industry they work like that, and that's just the basic way. But every body shape is different and every body is a little bit different. So you maybe have like a bigger chest but your waist is the same like mine, or you have shorter legs or whatever. So that's something I'm going to tell you today, what you can change up. So whenever you get a sewing pattern you can say, okay, but I have a length from something like that, so I need to change that. I have to make it longer or wider or whatever. Or maybe you just have like a basic pants and you want a boot cut look or whatever, and I'm going to show you how you can change up these little things so you don't have to get always a different pattern. You see, I just printed them out. They're really tiny. It's just 1x4. So they're smaller, but it's just the same way with your sewing pattern. It's the same shape, and I have here the sleeve, the front, the back, and as well as the pants front and the pants back. And I'm just going to show you that in a little bit. And I would say we are going to start sleeves. Okay, and what you have always different option of a sleeve. So let's see what we can change here. We can make it wider, we can make it longer, we can make it shorter, or we can turn this angle right here to make maybe a puff sleeve or whatever. I would always recommend you to leave this curve just how it is. Obviously you can make it shorter, so it's just like a little wing. Sleeve curve obviously has to fit perfectly into the curve from this upper body one right here. That's the same curve and that's the same curve. So here we have the curve from the back, and that's the curve from the back as well until this knot, and then we have the same right here, which is also this area. So they have to fit to each other. If you, for example, changing stuff up here, which is maybe wrinkling or so, that's okay. Or you're making just like a little fold in here, that's also fine, because this length is going to be the same length. But if you're changing up, for example, just cutting into it or whatever, or making it wider, you obviously have to make this area also wider, but I'm going to show you that just in a little bit. So just for now I'm just going to trace it really quick, and I'm going to show you how you can change your sewing pattern into a short sleeve, because that's the most common thing I'm going to see all the time. Make sure when you're tracing the sewing pattern on to get all the marks, because they are really important. And this line is where the middle of your sleeve is going to be, and that's the line for your like the shoulder area, which is stopping. That's the whole shoulder one area, and that's the line where the arm is going to start. So first of all, we want to make it as a short one. Now you can always measure it on yourself, so you're just going to measure from the shoulder top all the way how long you want the sleeve to be. Maybe you want it a little bit shorter or you want it a little bit longer. It's just the way up to you. So whenever you measure it, and for example you want a 20 centimeter or whatever, you obviously have to measure from the top part down 20 centimeters, but this area is a 1/4, so I'm just gonna do it by kind of how I want it, and I'm just gonna want a small one. Do it right there. Obviously sometimes if the sleeves goes more up or whatever, you want it to be smaller, and I'm just going to show you that onto the long area. So this area right here, that's your short sleeve. And that's something you can do with any sewing pattern you have. It's just a little shorter. Or you want to maybe a 1/3 and you do it right here. So that's always up to you. But let's say we have a long sleeve and we just wanted to change here onto the bottom. And with the bottom, maybe you want this. If you do have a cuff for that, you always have to change it the same way, because the cuff has to fit onto the sleeve part. So let's say we just want to have it, it is, yeah, 6.5 centimeter. Let's say we wanted a 4 centimeter one, so it's just here and just there. And how you see, I have it right into the middle, so that line is the middle side of your sleeve. You do next, you have your point right there and right there, and obviously this line which we had is not fitting anymore. So what we do, we take this point and that over here, and you can just make them like that way. Thing you can also do in the white, so that's the same thing. We have about 6.5 centimeters, and let's say you want like a 10 centimeters, then you're just measuring 5 centimeters up to here and also up to here, and then you take a line right there and take these points again as your line, and then you're changing them up. So one also really important thing about sleeve is how can I make sleeves longer, and that's also something I'm going to see really often. So that's the original sleeve, and that's the sleeve we're gonna have, and we can change up. So with changing the size, the sleeve up into the length, so you want it even longer. Different way to make a sleeve smaller or to make it longer, or middle area from your arm needs to be enlarged. So what you're gonna do, you take your sewing pattern and you're just gonna go ahead and cut right onto this area. This is gonna stay right there, and that's gonna be moved. Like you see, it's not getting smaller. If you would just take these lines and make them smaller, your wrist is gonna get smaller, and that's not the shape you want for a sleeve, because you do want your sleeve obviously to fit you. So let's say we have the sleeve and it's about, yeah, let's say 2 centimeters. It's too short. So what I'm gonna do, I measure 2 centimeters and I'm just gonna take it right there, just like that. And this area I'm gonna glue between it. And what you do also, you take a pen and you can now take, because we have a corner right here, you just gonna make this fit that, because the bottom obviously fitted really well, and also the top is like that, so you can move that away. Then you take your ruler and you just gonna rule from this area right to there, so you have about the mid of both sleeves area. You see that is about the mid really well, because we just enlarged them by here. That's the one and that's the other part. So these are the 2 centimeters which we enlarged, and you can just do it by cutting these two pieces, gluing the one piece together, and then you have a large sleeve which are attaching all of these here, right? This part, and as well the added part. That's going to look like, I did cut this part off, but that's just nothing we need. And then maybe you say like, okay, I do want it all a little bit bigger, so for example 2 centimeters or so. So we're just gonna cut right into the middle, and then you can spread it, and you obviously have to measure that. So let's say 1 centimeter, so I'm gonna do a 1/2 centimeter on each side, just by that. So measure really carefully, and then you can just take your glue, put the line right on here, and as well right on here, and then it's obviously fixed, so you have nothing to worry about. I'm not gonna fix it because I obviously have to show you some more things, but what I'm gonna do is just drawing around it, so we need to keep the shape always there. And that's the area which we added. You obviously have to do it a little bit better with the ruler. So And then you made your sleeve wider, and it's not so small. So you're not gonna add from the sewing pattern, if you have it, you're not gonna add 1 centimeter on each side, because this can change up. Because, so for example, you see that this is not always 1 centimeter up. That's something about grading that just not work like that. So you have to cut into the sleeve and then spread the sleeve so it's wider. But also keep in mind, because we made it a centimeter longer right here, you also have to change it onto the bottom part right there. So that's the new sleeve. And also keep in mind, like, these lines are gonna change, but as well as this wideness are gonna change. And just gonna show you now how this sleeve is gonna fit into the other armhole, because you're gonna see, which you can also always do, is you take this area and then you put your finger, you see that? It's right onto the knots, and you're changing and turning it all the way. You see right here that that's not fitting. Like, this is the line which has to go on right here. So it's a 1/2 centimeter a change. And how are we going to do that? We're not going to do this with the shoulder area, because if you do it with the shoulder area, everything is going to drop and not on the right position anymore. So what I want you to do is you can just have your, I don't know, front or back is the same method. It's nothing changed. Keep your knot right there. So you have it like that. So we have to get out right here a 1/2 centimeter, just like that. And that's your new point, which has to attach to the side seam. And then also you're just gonna put this point also 1 centimeter downward, just on the line, because that got moved the same thing. So that's the point which you have, and then you can just draw a new line, and you can do this with having a ruler on it. It's not fitting that perfectly, but I hope you know what I mean. So you just have to move out this area, the same that you did with the sleeve, just a half, because obviously the other half is going to be on the other side. And what you can do now, you can just go ahead and do this right here. So that's gonna be our new knot, and we need that, just to be careful. And then you can turn that as well, and you see it's perfectly onto this. So what you did, you made the sleeve a little bit longer, and as well you did the area right here. This is our original sleeve, and we say, okay, that's fitting perfectly, and this one just has to go moved by 1. We gonna see that that's not fitting anymore. And what I'm always gonna do, because we have the sewing pattern, you take your knots, turning that as well, and then we have this 1 centimeter moved out. So that's the point which goes perfectly onto each other, and that's just a 1/2 centimeter. So what you do, you're just gonna turn that until this point right here, which lowers the sleeve about a 1/2 centimeter. And then you can just draw a better line right here. And then you can cut that off, and that's your different sleeve. So again, just to now, when you want to move the chest area a 1/2 centimeter, if you want to just move this a little bit, I would always recommend you not to do it as much. So don't grade your sewing pattern like that. That's not a way to grading patterns, just to change them up so they fit you really well. So keep that in mind. You're just gonna want that to be a centimeter or a 1/2 centimeter or whatever. You're also gonna need to lower this a 1/2 centimeter or a centimeter or whatever, and draw this line again. So then the sleeve fits also into the body block, and that's just gonna fit each other. Other thing, you want to change the sleeve, like in the white, you add a 1/2 centimeter or whatever. You always have to divide that, so because you have the front and the sleeve, front and the back as well. Then you're just gonna need to add 1.5 centimeter or whatever to this armhole, and then draw also again a better line. You can change the front up as well, so it's the same way what you do with making it longer. You're also gonna cut right into the breast line, and then you can spread that and make it longer as well as I showed with the sleeve. The same thing with the shortness. You can also make it shorter and we do this method because you're going to lose the shape, and you just spread the waist or the chest, whatever you want. I would recommend you to the waist area, so you're not messing up this armhole or whatever. So you're just having a divided line, spreading it, gluing something between it, and then changing up these lines again. So we have the pants, and with the pants it's basically the same thing. So whenever you make the pants longer, cut into the knee line and then spread it and make it longer. Or for shorten it, you can do it the same way. But as well, every long pants is also a shortened version. So measure from your inside of your leg, just down how long you want the pants to be. And take a 90 degrees and just cut this off, so you can just double fold it, double stitch, and you have also a short one. Area it's just gonna be fixed, and then you can change everything up whatever you want. And that's how you're basically gonna change up sewing patterns. And that's just how I said, it's just the basic, but with any sewing pattern you can change them up a little bit so they fit you the best way. And I would say that's still the most tricky point on making sewing pattern or making clothes, is making clothes which fits anybody and every person. And that's, I would say, a really big problem and issue, and that's just a way whenever you sew your own clothes and you say, okay, I'm liking the fit, but I'm just wanting to change some stuff up because of the sleeve, or maybe you have really thick fabric, you want to make the armhole a little bit larger or whatever. So that's something you can do right here. So how I said just in the beginning, you're gonna find all my sewing patterns down below in the description box. There's so many sewing patterns, so maybe you just want to try that out. Also link me on Instagram, so I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm always really interested what you do and how you're gonna create new clothes. Yeah, I would say I'm gonna see you in the next video, and then we're gonna sew a little bit. So bye.